that I saw in the spirit, and it did make sense to me, because who was the chief reader of Abba? It was Ariel when he was a young man. Yeah, he was in his 20s at that time. It said, and Elijah went up by a world, but we'll see in time. Remember, this is a belief. Everything that we do is based upon faith. It said, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. So what happened to Elijah? He was translated. His human body, his terrestrial body, dematerialized, and then he received a body that was prepared for him, eternal in the heavens, pursuant to 2 Corinthians, the 5th chapter. You can start from the first verse. So they'll say, well, Elijah can't come back as John because Elijah never died. Well, Elijah didn't die the way we understand death. Perfect example was the Star Trek series when they used to go to another planet and they get beamed down. They would go into these pods, and you could see their body dematerialize, and they would go someplace else to another planet, and it would rematerialize. And then when they would say, beam us back up. So the body would dematerialize on that particular planet, and their body would come back together, rematerialize inside of the ship. So it's the same concept. See, Esau understands that, but Esau can't do it. Now, there was a project, I believe it was called, Manhattan Project, if I'm not mistaken. I believe they made a movie on it. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but whatever it was called, Project something, where they had the technology to make people dematerialize and rematerialize, and I think a couple of people died. They kind of halfway did it. And like I said, this is what they said. I wasn't there. But Esau does know that. See, Esau knows a lot of things, but they don't have the technology to do those things that they show you in these sci-fi movies. It says that Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. Actually, his body was intact, but when it went up into the heavens and went up into the ship, it could have been in full body, but when he went into the heavens, his body had to dematerialize and put on another body, a heavenly body, until he came back again as a newborn baby, as we know him as John the Baptist. John the Baptist is in fact Elijah coming back. And the Israelites of that 2,000 years ago, they knew about that. Anyway, Isaiah 60, verse 8, who are these that fly as a cloud? What does it say in Acts 1? The two men dressed in white, which were angels, said, why look ye up into heaven gazing? Your same Lord that was pulled up into the cloud, he's going to come in like manna. It says, and as the doves to their windows. Now, when we get beamed up, Lord willing, if we are the elect, and I say that humbly, we will see out of these windows. We will look down, because part of the prophecy is to look down and behold the reward of the wicked. And 2/3 of Israel on this land called Babylon the Great, they're going to die along with the wicked. They're going to receive that same death by fire. Genesis 6, 1 verse 22, Genesis 6 verse 1, 2 verse 22, I'm not going to read the whole, all those verses, but it says, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the earth, on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, and you can read the rest of the story. By the way, that's not talking about angels having sex with women of the other nation. It's talking about the sons of God are the Israelites. That's what they were called, the sons of God. And the word Israel, loosely translated, means the sons of God or the princes of God. And I hate to use that word God. Genesis 6, verse 4, it speaks about giants on the earth, sons of men, giants. When you go into the translation into the Hebrew, that's why it's important to know the Hebrew. The word there is a Nephilim, which means fallen ones, and we are the fallen ones. We were angels in bodies. As a matter of fact, even Esau were angels that came down in bodies. So when Esau dies, where do they go? They don't go to hell. They go into a spirit. They have their spiritual bodies until they come back. And when they come back, they're told, okay, now when you come back, you're going right into slavery. Because it was told to us. The many times that we transitioned, we were told, okay, you're going to go, when you come back this time, you're going into hardcore slavery, which is during the time period of the, as early as the 1600s, even the 1500s, up until the late 1800s. And then when they died, they said, okay, when you come back, you're not gonna suffer like you did in your last life, but you're still gonna be under the foot of Esau, the so-called white man. Okay, Acts 9, verse 3. And as he journeyed, he came near Damascus. This is the Apostle Paul. And suddenly there shined around about him a light from heaven. And you can read the rest of the story. And that was, they're telling you right here that this would have to be a chariot. And who was in that chariot or that UFO? It was our Lord. It says, Colossians 1, verse 16. For by him were all things created. So if there's aliens or beings on another planet, if that's the case, then who created those beings? Our Lord. That are in heaven and that are in earth. So the creeping things and everything, a roach, a mouse, every bug that you don't like, they're here for a purpose. Visible and invisible. So you got the spiritual realm. Who created the spirits? The power of the spirits, the Lord, the Most High. Whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.